Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and rejoice and join us because he is back. Mick McCarthy is back in the Championship. It's been too long, Mick, and he's gone back and joined up at Cardiff. So the return of the Mick, Neil Harris, lasted well from November 2019 through to obviously just a day or so ago. And McCarthy comes in to presumably try and rescue Cardiff's season. Now, I'm not entirely sure on the contract length at time of recording, but the situation obviously is that Cardiff are in year 2 of parachute payments, so that advantage ends as the season ends. So I would suspect that some kind of contract will be done probably to the end of next season, but with necessary get-outs for both parties. Whether the idea is that you bring in an experienced guy this season and have a crack at the league while you've still got the likes of Harry Wilson there available on a loan deal, and you're able to exercise that advantage, however big or small you consider that to be. And then I suppose they can choose what to do next season. All I would say is look at the example of Middlesbrough, where the parachute payments ran out and they went from an experienced old hand in Tony Pulis to Jonathan Woodgate, who was new to management, obviously, and it didn't go so well. And I think managing that sort of step down from, you immediately go from being an elite, very desirable Championship team in this financial system to one of the pack that needs to recruit and try and negate that advantage by good practice in those ways. So it's an interesting appointment in that regard, and we'll see how long the contract turns out to be. That's where I saw the story broken. Obviously, my phone lit up because I can go chapter on verse Mick McCarthy because I'm an Ipswich fan and I've had 6 years of him very, very recently. So that is, it's all reputable stuff. BBC Sport Wales there, Rob Phillips breaking the story. There is the league table and FA Cup this weekend. So no game for Cardiff until Wednesday the 27th. So I guess that's what Vincent Tan has kind of looked at in terms of the decision making. And they've obviously moved quickly after the QPR defeat to then go and do this and presumably have Mick in place for the midweek game. Not great. Cardiff there, 29 points, 5 straight defeats. I suppose Mick will come in and take one look at it and in his pragmatic way say he's 13 off the playoffs, but he's also 9 off relegation. But we all know that there will likely be an upward trend in their league position and the points per game. They're not in the position they should be with their squad. Now, wherever you consider a reasonable position for Cardiff, who finished 5th last season, best of the rest really for 4 teams who are a lot better than them. And Cardiff, best of the rest, got in the playoffs and lost. But where you have them this season, I don't know. Certainly, though, 15th would appear to be a little bit too low. So is it a bit of a no-lose situation for Mick? If it is a short-term deal, they will likely go up the table in terms of just a pure regression to the mean if they get things organised and stop losing. So, how high they go, well, you let me know in the comments. There's the squad. I'm sure Kiefer Moore will be pleased to see Mick again because he didn't really get a chance. I'm being a bit disingenuous there because obviously I don't know that was entirely Mick's decision there, Kiefer Moore at Ipswich before with Selina, Garner, Waghorn. I'm missing someone out. McGoldrick, all ahead of him, and I can't see too many other links there. I'm sure Sean Morrison and Marlon Pack will become McCarthy's Chambers and Skews, and of course he'll enjoy working with big strikers like Moore and Glatzel, and tricky players like Wilson and Ojo. What we know about Mick is that players absolutely love him. So where fans may have differing opinions on him, players without fault, ask anyone who's played for him, they all seem to speak incredibly highly of him. What I will say about that Cardiff squad, and this is the worry if you're a Cardiff fan, is that, I know I sound like a broken record, if you do go into a situation where you don't have parachute payments, the way teams have competed then is developing players, sell, recruit well, sell, recruit well. Look at Brentford, Bristol City have done it well, Preston in recent years. And all of these teams, Leeds sold Wood and retooled, Norwich sold Mattheson and retooled, Sheffield United sold Brooks and retooled. It's only really, I guess, Huddersfield who had that lightning in a bottle season. The only team really to sort of get up without either having parachute payments or recruited to make that up. The worry about the Cardiff squad is who in there going forward long term is going to be a high value player where you can start doing that. Maybe it will start now because Perry and G and Max Waters, who are sort of 24 and 21, have been brought in from the lower division. So maybe they're already starting to move forward in that regard. So this transition from being a rich team who can loan Harry Wilson or sign Aidan Flint for a load of money, they've been the kind of two sort of marquee signings, I suppose Glatzel as well, last season. Going from that to, one who's going to become a recruiter. There's the CV. We know it oh so well, don't we? So Millwall, if you speak to Millwall fans, a lot of them aren't too fond. They kind of believe that Mick politicked to get the Ireland job and sort of left Millwall in the lurch. And there's the first of a pattern of Mick leaving a club and a bit of a downtrend afterwards. Obviously, Republic of Ireland there. 6 years, got them to the World Cup in Japan. I guess that was the peak of it. Some great players, though, and obviously Robbie Keane and Roy Keane, players of that ilk, working for him, but very highly regarded in Ireland. And then some really great work in the Championship at Sunderland and Wolves. You can see down there, in terms of club career, a bit of a purple patch there from sort of the 2003 period to 2010, where he became the guy to get you out of the Championship. Took Sunderland up first, and then had no money in the Premier League, to be fair to him. And then took Wolves up, where many people had tried and failed beforehand, I guess. Again, Wolves a little bit of a fallout at the end of it. And I have to say, though, here's the pattern again. Mick leaves, Wolves sink 2 divisions, don't they? And Kenny Jackett gets them back in the end. And then we get to Ipswich, where I think it's a well-worn story that he did a really good job for the first years of that sort of 6-year tenure, getting Ipswich into the playoffs. But then, as the influence of the parachutes kicked in and owner Marcus Evans realised, I'm going to have to spend a fortune and make a huge gamble, and FFP tightened up, it became harder and harder for Mick to challenge. And perhaps the thing that I've been talking about in terms of recruiting, selling at the right time, retooling, selling, building up your squad that way, that didn't happen. And yeah, a bit of a sore sort of last year or two as Mick battled on and the Ipswich fans wanted the challenge to continue, but the league position dropped down. And not a happy ending, but perhaps some of that is healed with time now with the Ipswich fans. Back he goes to Ireland, just 10 games there, and it was just a weird time really, because he ended up finishing in the middle of COVID and they go to Stephen Kenny. And then this very strange Hallewell in Cyprus, who I think are quite eccentrically run, and he was just there for 10 games, strangely, because the Sheffield Wednesday job came up in that time, which you'd think, given his Yorkshire roots, would be perfect. But he's waited it out and got Cardiff now, that are a Year 2 parachute team, and obviously not quite in the state that Sheffield Wednesday and obviously the Derby job, the Forest job, some big clubs all coming up this season. But Mick comes back for Cardiff. I've tried to do in a very sort of sensible fashion. I know football isn't often discussed in sensible. I've tried to do a pros and cons list just to let Cardiff fans know kind of what they're going to get with my fairly extensive knowledge of this guy as a manager. So the first pro is obvious experience. We get quite a lot of disrespect in the comments on the channel when an experienced manager is hired, like it's a bad thing that they're older. It always happens. We should be respectful in such a competitive field that these guys can work for 20, 30 years. People like Steve Bruce, Tony Pulis, Mick McCarthy, etc. But unfortunately, football fans often want the shiny new toy. But experience, look, you'd rather have it than not, wouldn't you? Put it that way. Man management, as I said, players absolutely love him and all want to play for him. In-game management is actually very, very good. Sometimes to a fault, I have to say, because you sometimes think he puts the team out and then just starts tweaking, and it's more him trusting his own ability to move the chess pieces around than maybe an overarching pattern of play in the modern terms, in terms of the passing. There is obviously a pattern of play, we all know, with Mick. League knowledge, well, Mr. Championship, isn't he? If you look through Sunderland, Wolves and Ipswich, is literally must be 15 years worth of or pushing that Championship experience in the last 2 decades. The parachute transition, like I said, just making a comparison to Jonathan Woodgate. I know a lot of Cardiff fans were speaking to me about Craig Bellamy. Do you really want a new first-time manager, particularly in this division, at this point where you're transitioning from being a parachute team to a non-parachute team? You probably do want the safe pair of hands, and then, I don't know, perhaps a Craig Bellamy comes in further down the line when things are stable, and it's less a case of using the parachute money to try and get a promotion to a slow build with recruitment and maybe some younger players coming through. Honesty and charisma, I've put at the last one. You'll get honesty from Mick for good or bad. And in terms of the charisma, I laugh and I joke. He's a very good football manager, but he's always good fun, good for a quote, and just a fun guy to have in the league. Let's bring up the cons. I said experience, but some people will say time since success. Is a promotion with Sunderland 15 years ago or one with Wolves 10 years ago relevant? Mick would argue that it wasn't his fault that he couldn't get success at Ipswich, and that the kind of financial restraints and what he was up against in the parachute FFP era was prohibitive. That would be his argument. I suppose the proof's in the pudding between those two kind of positions. But I know some will argue, oh, what's he done for the last 10 years, etc. Pragmatic approach, yeah. When the chips are down, we know what McCarthy will do. He'll make his team hard to beat. Every point's a prisoner. The opponents are no mugs. We heard it a million times in his reign at Ipswich. And when he's not on the front foot, it can be cautious and it can be pragmatic. But hey, look, we're in a league now with Rowett and Warnock. I suppose Harris has gone now. Houghton. There are a few pragmatists in there. So, we get the odd not so fun watch this season, don't we? Age, as I said, people seem to find age a negative in terms of football managers rather than a positive. Has he got more years behind him than ahead of him in his career? Of course. So I know people will flag that up. I've put honesty in the cons as well, because this is what necessitated the fallout really at Ipswich, is that he was honest about the situation, and he will fire back if fans are equally honest. So don't expect it to be a one-way flow where if fans are critical of McCarthy that he'll just suck it up and feed back what they want to hear. No, he will fire back. And with that being said, I've put the collateral damage thing where, yes, okay, there's the example at Sunderland where the new ownership came in and they did well. But obviously there has been a downturn at Millwall, at Wolves and at Ipswich, and relegations indeed, after he's left each club. With all of that being said, I'm very pleased because he's quite the character. I've forgiven him for telling the Ipswich fans to F off away at Norwich. There was a bit of tit for tat going on, and neither side covered themselves in glory. We're pleased to have him back. He'll be good for a quote, and let's see how Mick McCarthy gets on at Cardiff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you pleased to see him back? How do you think he'll do? Will he take Cardiff up the table? Let's try and be respectful. We're talking about essentially elite professionals here who have done great things in their career, and I do see a lot of disrespect for more older tenured managers in the comments. So if we can try and make it a balanced and a bit respectful, is that asking too much of football supporters? Maybe it is. Let me know what you think, and what you think of what I've said. Depending on the contract and what the plan is, I think it's sensible. It may not be the most mind-blowing things. If they wanted, Cardiff fans wanted Craig Bellamy and a new era and all of a sudden a new team to just materialise whilst COVID is happening and Cardiff transition from being parachute to possibly non-parachute in the Championship, and fans gradually come back and there's a downturn in the transfer market and Brexit's happening, it may not be the right time. So I think it's sensible, providing that there's a review at the end of this season, and he'll probably get the contract till the end of next season, and we'll see in terms of clauses. So I think it's sensible given the circumstances, but I do understand if Cardiff fans are not necessarily excited because it's a staid old name, but just because it's an experienced guy doesn't mean it's the right guy. And just because something new might have been on offer, that doesn't mean that would have worked. We've seen plenty of clubs go for the bright new toy and end up like a Middlesbrough or an Ipswich, end up going back to a Warnock or a Paul Lambert afterwards. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you're a football owner, put it that way. But hey, that's why it's such an elite sort of position to be working in. Get your comments in. Cardiff appoint Mick McCarthy. Mick is back. Thank you for watching. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button, and to be notified every time we upload, ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.